Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up Well. And as you all know, working from home has become pretty much everything. Most people are working from home right now. And so I wanted to do a show that was all about how to have a happy, healthy workspace using sort of a mind, body, soul approach. And that's how I approach everything. So my guest today is Debra Duneier. She is the founder and president of Eco and she's a Feng Shui master practitioner, an accredited LEED Green Associate. She is a certified eco designer and a graduate gemologist. I mean, if this lady doesn't know how to tell us how to have a happy, healthy space, I don't know who doesn't. But also, what I love about her is she's vice chair of the Global Initiative for Sustainability for the Global Wellness Institute. And so, Debra, that tells me that you are all about making sure that everything that we use in our space is also sustainable, which I think is beautiful. We're putting great materials in our home as well. So you're the perfect person to give me a little feng shui when it comes to our workspace. So let's go over some, well, first of all, actually, let's talk about feng shui. What is feng shui? And did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Feng Shui is the way it's pronounced, although you'll hear it pronounced different ways, in different countries.
Yeah.
But here we say Feng Shui, even though it's spelled Feng, and people very often don't know what to do with that. And Feng Shui is a Chinese practice. It's an intuitive art. In how to arrange your spaces or even build buildings or arrange your desk. So it has the most positive influence on you in the moment and in your future.
So, and I'm imagining it has certain principles that go along with that.
Yeah, there are many. I mean, there are 5 different schools of Feng Shui. I studied all of them, but I think what would be most helpful today is to really speak about form school. Because form school is the basics of all schools of Feng Shui. And so that this has to be right. Otherwise, everything else you do is just not.
Okay. So when we are working from home, not everybody has their own office. Like I don't have my own office, so I've had to create an office in my bedroom. Is that an okay thing to do if you don't have a dedicated office to create a space somewhere else?
Well, under these circumstances, we don't have much choice, right?
Yeah.
We have to make the most with what we have. I mean, ordinarily, if you were setting up your home and it was, you went off to work somewhere, but you brought some work home with you and you needed a spot for it, it would be a no-no, really, to put a desk in your bedroom. But it is okay if you are in a situation where you can put yourself in a power position so that you are in control. This is a moment in time. I don't have to tell you. Everything is out of control. We have no control about anything that's really going on in our lives. So it's like dominoes falling over. So what's very, very important to stay focused, both in your mind and your spirit and your body, is to have a feeling of some kind of control. And that is by doing exactly what you did, is to designate a specific spot for your work. And there are ways to support yourself there, which I'm going to tell you about right now.
Well, would you say like setting up at the kitchen table then and the dining table is not a good way to go about it to really try to find that power space in your home?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm very fortunate that I did study with masters that also were from the Western world as well as the Eastern world. So it makes what I do much more practical, probably, than if you were in Hong Kong, and they would say, no, 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 you can't do this. And I would say, yes, you can, but just let's support you there. So if you don't have the room in your bedroom, or you're in a studio apartment and you have to work at your dining room table, the rule would be is to set yourself up, first of all, in the power position. And what does that mean? In Feng Shui, it means that you have mountain energy behind you. Now, we don't have mountains behind us wherever we are, but we have to create that kind of stable energy. And that's done with a wall. So if you have a wall behind you, you can see the door to your room. but not be in line with the door, but you can see it. Now you're in control. You have the support of a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see who's coming and going. Because what happens is, even in a workplace, if you can't see that door or you can't see that passageway behind you, people are moving in that area, and we're animals. And our instinct kicks in, and we have this kind of fight or flight kind of physical reaction because we don't know if somebody symbolically is going to stab us in the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot totally focus. So a way around that in this circumstance would be to put a little mirror by your desk so
Okay.
that you can see behind you.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to relax because you know what's going on all around you at a time in the world where we have no idea what's going on anywhere. So
Yeah,
in
and
your
that
home,
makes
you can feel
sense. That totally
stable.
makes sense because most people in an office environment who have their, if you're not in a cubicle and you have an office, they're always facing their door, the wind. They're not facing like where they can't see who's walking by, right? So that makes sense. That
Right.
instinct would be like if I had my back to my door and didn't know who was walking by, I'd probably be turning around every 2 seconds whenever I heard footsteps. So you're
Exactly.
giving us sort of
Exactly.
the feng shui version, but the practical version, which is put your desk in a position where you can see the door so you can see who's coming in and out. But if that isn't practical right now, then you would put a mirror so that way you can see who is coming in and out. Okay.
Exactly. Now,
Excellent.
there's a couple of other things here. So if you have to work at your dining room and then it's going, at some point it's going to be mealtime,
Mm-hmm.
you should really set up parameters for your day, a schedule,
Mm.
so that maybe it's at 5 o'clock. Now your office is closed.
Yeah. I
So
love that.
you either take something that covers that little area or you remove everything from that area, and now you transition that space to nurture yourself, to feed yourself, to get your nutrition and your strength, and then eventually transition to a restful time in the day. So it's very difficult for people. If you have your stuff out all the time, you want to run over to the computer, run over to your book, make sure you have everything on your list. But I think in this moment, even more so than any other time, it's very, very important to set up parameters and also healthy boundaries with family members, people who you are isolated with, because that also brings up a very, very unique situation for us.
Yeah.
So it's maybe, okay, you're going to work here, I'm going to work in the other room. And now let's respect not only our distance and our place of work, but also maybe, from 1 o'clock to, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I'm not going to see you. Because now you're with people that that you love very much. You want to stay that way.
Yeah. This is great though. This is really good advice because it's really tying back into even if what would you be doing in an office? Well, if you were in an office, right? People wouldn't be just barging in. They would knock. They would, you would have your own personal space and people would honor that. So it's, honoring that you're there in your office. So people have that parameter, as you said, and then the transitions because sometimes at work you do take a lunch break and you do go outside and get some fresh air or whatever, and so it's taking those transitions rather than sitting at your desk all day long and then setting a schedule. So if you go to work from 8 to 5 or whatever it is, setting that schedule and then transitioning out into like, okay, it's dinner time. I would imagine that most people are not doing that, where it's much more
Yeah.
like almost erratic. The behavior is erratic of, you're just doing everything at once. And I think that what you're saying is so true for the mental part of this. The
Mm-hmm.
mind, body, soul aspect is to make sure that you are uncluttered, like in every aspect of it, correct?
Right. I mean, as far as your space goes, very important to be uncluttered at this point and organized. Again, it's the environmental psychology piece and the mental wellness is about having some kind of control over your life.
Mm-hmm.
And in a moment where you really feel like everything's out of control and you have none, in your own residence, in your own space, take control. The more you take control, the more empowered you're going to feel, the more balanced, the more grounded. And there's no better time than this moment.
What happens now? Obviously, if we were going to set up a home office, we'd be able to go to the store or buy things online. And now we're in this place where you either can't go to the store or you're not going to be able to get the things that you've ordered online for a while. So, are there simple things you can do in your home, things that, exist for everybody that they can do as well to make sure that they have a, healthy, happy home workspace?
Yeah, I think that power position is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I think for an interior space, a lot of my work is about bringing nature indoors. So some of us will have views of nature. I happen to be isolated in a place where I can see trees and some animal life once in a while, but most people are not. And what does that do to us? I mean, a certain part of the brain fires up. It glows when we're in nature. Studies have shown that when we have symbols of nature, the same part of our brain lights up. So I would say what you see is very important. What you see is what you get in Feng Shui. It's called the red bird or the rising phoenix. That is your future. So think for a moment, maybe in a meditation, which I highly recommend, as you're taking care of your body and your mind and your spirit, and you're kind of nurturing it as well as you can. And you take those moments, think about what would you like your future to be like? What do you want it to look like? And I speak to a lot of people who are telling me what they wanted 6 months ago is very different than what they want to bring into their lives right now. I mean, we're changed forever.
Yeah.
So think about that. And then think about the things around the house that represent that to you, and put it in a place where you're either sitting and working or where you go to rest, a place that you look at all the time, because that feeds not only that feeling of it's just around the corner, and I'm really happy because I can see that it's coming in. And that is a very, very powerful tool of Feng Shui. And along with that can be nature or symbols of nature. And when we see those symbols, like a beautiful flower or a tree, there are these amazing fractals that are there, these mathematical equations. A tree and the leaf is the same shape, and it's sacred geometry, and it goes on and on. But what happens when we see that is subconsciously we recognize that as our own DNA, because it's so similar in those patterns. So bring nature, surround yourself with nature. If you have a green plant, bring it into the room that you're spending most of your time in, because a green plant is a natural air filter. So it will filter the air just on its own. It is the most calming color to look at. So for your eyes, it will give them a rest. If you're on the computer all day long and you look up at the plant, it's a moment for rest. And there's a whole life force that comes along with it that we really need to be healthy.
I love that a lot. Would you suggest somebody who doesn't have, really enough space inside their home, if somebody actually was able to create that space outdoors, depending on the weather, where you live, would you suggest that as a great way to make yourself a little home office?
Absolutely. I mean, you're touching on something that I find really exciting. I posted a picture. We had pretty calm and really beautiful temperatures last week during one day, and the sun came out after a couple of days of rain, and it's like I set up everything outside. So if you can do that and still have social distancing and not be on top of other people, and you have that luxury, absolutely set yourself up outside. I think that's the future of workspaces.
Yeah. I wish I live in South Florida. It's a little too hot for that here
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Hmm.
But if I could sit outside, that would be great. But I do love the idea of bringing the nature in, whether it's flowers or a plant or something and just bringing it.
Hmm.
Um, and then what happens, like you were talking about the power position, like in I set up my desk in my bedroom. Now I have two options. I can either set my desk in a way that I can see my door, or I can set my desk in a way where I could have the window open and I can actually look out at the beautiful trees. So
Right.
which would be more advantageous in that from that perspective?
Well, I'd like to have both, and that's where the mirror idea comes from. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
have the mirror, then you have both. And certainly, if you are what you see and you bring in, to your life what you're seeing, if you're looking at something that's very beautiful, makes you feel really good, and kind of represents the future that you want. I want
Yeah.
more time in nature. I want calm. I want things to be wonderful and healthy and lush. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get better than that. There's another little trick that people can try if they're in a situation where they go, oh, I really don't have a wall and I'm looking at what I want to look at. And I know Deborah said, don't be in front of a door because that's where the chi enters and it kind of
Mm-hmm.
knocks you over.
Mm.
You need the chi to flow around the space for it to be a healthy space. But a little trifold room divider, and they're
Mm.
pretty inexpensive. You can
Yeah.
get it made out of bamboo or wood or a whole bunch of sustainable materials. And to use that in a way that it gives you the support that you need and puts you in the power position by utilizing it and placing it properly. And then at the end of your workday, you can fold it up
Yeah.
and put it away.
Mm-hmm. And make that
You
transition again.
know. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now my goal is to actually live by the ocean, so that would be my office. Like that's what. So I'm going to
Hmm.
use that what you said about like if you put. I'm going to try to put like a little sand thing or maybe a screensaver with the ocean. So whenever I go to
Perfect.
my desk, it reminds me of what I want to create eventually, which is an office where I get to overlook the ocean. That's my ultimate dream in life. So I love that advice because that's what I teach people. Like see it, feel it, be it. You gotta see it with your mind's eye and feel it in your body what it is to have that thing. So I love that. Any other feng shui tips that you can offer to us for healthy home offices?
Um, I would say that use these little bits of ancient wisdom. Um, Feng Shui is 5,000 years old. And there are plenty of cultures around that I study as I do different kinds of environments where we pull in Native American Indian practices or Vatsu Veda from India. Or I meet people that are actually from Europe and they say, my grandmother said, never put your chair here. That's not a good thing. It kind of overlaps. So these little tips are really very, very big.
Yeah.
They're
You
really
work with,
big.
you do commercial spaces as well. Are there anything that you can utilize, like that you would think of that you do in commercial spaces that would be great in a home? Not just talking about what's going on currently, because I believe that more people will start working from home and will be creating these offices for themselves. So, is there any tips that you can take from those design projects you've done to help people set up if they're going to set up a real, true home office?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say during these times, and I think any time that you really want to focus on your work, unless you're, uh, a, a broker, on Wall Street, where there's a whole totally different kind of energy that you have to have. But, usually in a creative space, focusing on business in any way, it's nice to have a clear mind and to feel like the environment it has harmony and is healing
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
you. And so it brings to mind some of the spaces that I've done for healing and some that I'm working on right now for like mental wellness, and to bring in colors that make you feel a certain way. And when it comes to colors, it's usually bringing in the colors of nature, like sand,
Hmm.
a very, very soft blue, like a soft blue sky, green, but usually a green, especially if it's a new office, that's all about renewal. And that would be a fresh green, almost like new grass coming up in the spring. And
Hmm.
that's a rising energy, which is like starting a new chapter in your life. And bringing in these beautiful, soft nature, colors of nature is something that is very calming, as well as a soft pink in the right places, in the right doses, and also a soft lavender.
Hmm.
Those are the colors that are really calming to people. And the thing that changes the energy of it is the intensity of the color, not even the shade. So if it gets brighter and brighter and brighter, it's going to be less calming.
Mm-hmm.
So
That
the
makes sense.
softer is better.
Okay. So you can come work on my, when I eventually manifest my home office overlooking the ocean, I'll have you come and set it up all pretty and beautiful for me.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I'd love to do that. The other layer here is when working with an individual
Mm-hmm.
is that I study your energies. Then I
Okay.
study the energies of the space and I kind of layer them like this and see how are they reacting with each other.
Yeah.
And the energies to some people may sound a little woo-woo or a little
Yeah.
bit out there, but it's
Yeah.
not really. I use Compass School, which is all about directions.
Uh-huh.
So if you think in this hemisphere, the southern direction of a property is going to feel very different than the northern part of the
Mm-hmm.
property, which is going to be darker, a little bit more yin.
Yeah.
And the southern is going to be brighter and more lively. So it makes sense to have your lively rooms in that area, your living
Mm-hmm.
space and social spaces. And in the north to have your more restful rooms like a library or your bedroom. But that doesn't always work out when builders, are going to build a building or a home. So Feng Shui comes in by saying, okay,
Mm.
your bedroom is in the south. How do we make it more like the north?
Yeah.
How do we make it more calming so that you can actually rest there? And if your social areas are in the north, it's about how do we bring in the energies to make it more lively. So
Yeah.
it supports what you're going to do there.
And where would an office fall in that? Would you which north or south would you put an office in? Would you consider it the lively or would you consider it the calming?
It's according to the kind of work that you're doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well, me,
each
I
kind
teach
of work.
meditation and I do client readings one on one. So mine would definitely be probably I want the more calm
Mm-hmm.
energy with my
Right.
clients. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it's like all these things I never even think about, but they make, really perfect sense. And I always say to people, cluttered life, cluttered mind. So when I walk into somebody's home and there's just stuff everywhere, or someone's office and it's just everywhere you look there's things, I just wonder like how do you get any work done? Now some people thrive in that sort of chaotic environment and they're more creative, but for me it gives me that sense of like I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't do
Yeah.
my work. So I'm like a everything has its place and has to be put in a drawer, and the only things that are out are mementos and things like that. I can't stand books everywhere, papers everywhere, and so I like a calm space. But would you is that a principle of feng shui in terms of decluttering a space?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, it's by the entrance of your home or your office or wherever you are, by the entrances, there should be no clutter whatsoever. Because what that does is it prevents the fresh chi from coming in, and that's
Okay.
bringing in health and abundance into the space.
Yeah.
So you don't want to cut that off. It's like you're choking it,
Yeah.
if you have things there. Um, in feng shui, it's also believed that if your home is very cluttered or your space is very cluttered, that it's this symbolically like your veins are cluttered. There's
Okay.
a health implication to that. So clear it out. But I do want to say one thing about this specific moment in time, Laura, and that is, I've worked with people that have had severe hoarding problems.
Mm.
And when I have worked with them, there was usually the reason was holding on to a better time.
Okay. That goes back to
And,
that mind,
and
body, soul trifecta of one
right.
thing causes the other.
And the danger of this moment
Mm-hmm.
is that as we're feeling insecure or that times are not what they were, in order to hold on to what was, we may start to collect stuff.
Mm.
And I would say organize it.
Okay.
You can have your things, but organize it.
Yeah.
Find a place for everything because that's going to clear the palette for you to bring new things into your lives. And if you hold on to all of that stuff, it clutters things up so there's no room for anything new. And
Yeah.
I wish for everyone out there just, wonderful health and abundance and for new things to flow in with ease.
You just gave me chills. So you just totally hit upon like something, spirit channeled right there, which is like that whole concept of if you hold on to things, you're not creating the space for new things to come in. And you're
Right.
wondering why, things aren't happening. It's like because we're holding on to the old and not letting in the new. And doesn't that tie back into exactly what's going on in our world right now? We're holding on to the old paradigm and we're still kind of stuck in it, that it's still difficult for us to get into the new. So that's why, like, you started talking, I was like, oh, I'm getting chills, I'm getting chills. You've really, really hit upon, an overreaching theme. So I think that is beautiful, and I hope people will really take that advice to let go of what isn't serving you anymore, that, there's new coming in, and to really open up the world to allow that to come in. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to find more about you or work with you? Give me all that info.
So my website is EcoChi, eco like eco-friendly,
Mm-hmm.
chi like the vital force of energy, CHI, ecochi.com, and reach out anytime.
Great. I love this topic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was great information. I always say at the end of these, like, I feel like I get a master class from experts on different things, and it's fun for me because I'm like, wow, I'm learning all these great new things. So I really appreciate. Those are wonderful advice, and I'm gonna go clean up my desk right now.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.